So at this stage, I'm going to click my stop sharing, in which case we should go over to Gemma. Gemma, can you hear me?
I can hear you, David. Can you hear me?
I can, that's very clear.
Okay.
So everybody, I'd like to introduce you to Gemma King. Now, Gemma's was trained in ProReal. When were you trained in ProReal? A year ago? Or
a year ago, yes, last summer.
So Gemma's a counsellor, and she was right at the core of some of the research work we were doing in school counselling with ProReal last year. Now, Gemma comes from it's not so much from the coaching background, but from the world of counselling, which there's clearly a lot of overlaps, and I know that we've got some clinicians on the webinar today. So we're going to do a little bit of supervision here. Gemma and I have contracted beforehand, so the contracting part of the supervision included our own how we get to work together, and we talked briefly about the direction for her Gemma's piece of work today, but I just want to run through a few bits of the contracting with all the rest of the participants. Now, clearly we can't keep this confidential, so all I'd ask is that we'll bring a good amount of respect and integrity, all of us that's on the call, to this piece of work, and stay very present as we do this live piece of work. We will take questions at the end, but in the meantime, don't hesitate to use the chat. And also to say that because this is a demonstration, it may not be a complete piece of work. We are up against a time limit, and we're running slightly behind on time. So Gemma, just to recontract with you, are you okay on that? And we'll run through to probably 12, 15, I think. That gives us about 20 minutes. Is that okay with you?
That's fine, yeah.
And Mikhail, we need to view Gemma's screen.
Yes, Gemma, so if you could share your screen now. So click on share your screen and share your desktop. Oh, your screen is coming. Yeah. Okay. And now you are opening the ProReal session. Yeah. We can see it all. Thank you.
Lovely. Thank you. Gemma, also, I know you had a bit of a headache arriving into Zoom. Are you okay now? Is everything all right?
I think I need some therapy.
I have this saying, actors talk about working with children and animals, just a disaster on stage. We have the same, working with technology can be just as bad.
I know, it's my worst nightmare, but it's okay. We're good. So, okay. So, shall I just share with you the question?
Yeah, to participants, we've talked about a direction from this, and we might call it a supervisory question. So if Gemma does a bit of a recap, then we'll all know the direction for this. Thanks, Gemma.
Okay, so I work in a school with students, and one of my students, who actually was part of the ProReal program, who I've been working with for nearly a year, was referred to me with low-level self-harm and anger issues, and he was struggling at school with stress, anxiety, memory loss. He was experiencing OCD tendencies and struggling with relationships at home, fears for the future. So it's very broad. There was a question of him being on the autistic spectrum. There's a question of him being having ADD. So fairly sort of complex client. And my question is, how helpful is it to the therapeutic relationship or the coaching relationship to be given additional information about the client from an external source? So recently I have been asked questions and received information from members of the school team about the client, but the client hasn't actually given me this information. So I'm now in a position where I'm holding information from an external source, and I'm wondering how useful that is to the therapeutic relationship, whether it's a hindrance or whether it's helpful, and just really wanted to explore that a little bit.
Okay, lovely. And I think for some of the coaches who might work corporately, you're working with an individual and you get additional information about someone. So I can certainly see the parallels there. So your questions about what do you do with that additional information you have about a client, and how do you hold that? You talked about holding it.
Yeah.
So, okay. So you found somewhere you've got the landscape, and I know you're fairly familiar with the probably very familiar with the landscape. And if you're to position this particular question or this situation somewhere in the landscape, where would it be?
Yeah, so this is where I am at the moment. So I've already positioned myself.
Okay.
So this is me at the moment. So there's a gate open, as you can see, and I'm just wondering where to sort of go with the information. I've got the castle ahead of me, which is I'm going to sort of use, I think, as the representation of the school, where the information has come from. But I'm not in the school, so I'm sort of feeling like I need to be out here at the moment.
Okay, just give yourself a name and just label a bit of yourself.
Yes. So I'll give myself Gemma, and my question is how helpful. How helpful is it to have additional information?
Yeah.
Excuse my spelling if it's not. Well, yeah, there we go. It's not me. It's the computer.
Yeah.
Additional info. I'll just try and keep this short. And then my posture, I guess, is about. I'm looking at. Well, probably being a bit stressed about it at the moment. So this probably is a bit of an extreme posture, but I mean, I can't, it's a bit like, what am I going to do about this one? So that's my posture. I'm going to give myself, okay, I'm just going to give myself a colour. I'm going to give myself orange, okay, to differentiate me from others.
Okay.
So here I am. So I'm like, what am I going to do about this one then? I've been given additional information, and what do I do? I'm not sure how is this going to work out with my relationship with my client.
So you mentioned a few others in your introduction. You talked about your client. You talked about the school.
Yeah.
So how about bringing those into this?
Okay, so what I'm going to do is I'm just going to go up into the castle, which is where I'm going to sort of think about. Sorry, this is really sensitive, this computer. Okay, so I'm going to go up. Bear with me, up into the what I'm representing as the school. If I can get up there, here's the. Here's the irony, the hill to climb.
It's a struggle to get into the school.
It's a struggle to get into the school, isn't it? Yeah. It's only because I think it's the sensitivity of the keyboard. Here we go. We're getting there. Out we go. I might have to end up staying in the school, otherwise this is going to take too long, isn't it? This feels like this is mud. This is like sticky. Okay. So it's taking me a while to get up here, but
don't worry.
It's like slowing down. That mud is. I'm feeling like I'm in sticky mud here. Okay. So here I am. I'm going into the school. There we go. Okay. So I'm in the school. I'm going to just bring in my client. So I'm just going to, he's a boy, I'm going to give him blue. That's really stereotypical, isn't it? I'm just going to call him JP. I'm not sure what his thinking is at the moment, but I'm just going to put him a little bit smaller because he is a student. Now, that doesn't mean that I'm bigger or better, but it's just representing who he is in this particular scenario.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm just going to leave him there. I'm just going to add I'm going to add I'm going to add this. This is going to represent the school, the people that have given me the additional information. So these are what I call them. So I'll call them school information, school info. And I'm just going to put we know stuff. That's not exactly what they said. But.
Just as a point of clarity, just to help me with that, you said that green one, school info, is that the info giver? Because it sounded like you had something else, and I was going to ask if maybe we could have a prop to represent the information itself.
Okay, so that's the info giver. There are three of them. I've had three lots of information. But so do you think it'd be useful to use a prop to represent the information?
It was a suggestion. It was a thought.
Okay.
Like you had some information going around.
Absolutely. So I think what I'll maybe I'll use the elephant here.
Mm-hmm.
In terms of the elephant in the room, because between myself and my clients, just position that between us both. The elephant in the room is the information for me. So I have the information, and I'm not sure whether that is blocking my relationship with my client or whether that's useful.
It's in between you and your client at the moment.
At the moment, yeah. It's not as big as that. I'm just going to reduce it a bit because it's not that big. Okay. I think that's the smallest I can get. So, okay. So yes. So that's me. That's my client.
Just label the elephant there as whatever that information. I think you said it was the. What is it?
Sort of additional info.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Yeah.
And the green, the information giver. Let's just go back. What was that? Where did you go to with editing that one?
Okay. So yes. So school information. We know stuff. They're asking me questions. Do you know do you know the history of this child? Do you know what's going on at home? And I wasn't aware of the history of the child, and I wasn't aware of what's going on at home. So they're asking me questions about it. Do you know that? And I have this information, and I'm wondering whether I'm obviously not going to bring it into the room with my client because, the way I work is that the client brings as much information as he or she, wishes to. But I suppose my question is, if I had been given this information earlier, would I have understood my client better?
I'm wondering, so I noticed that you've selected the posture of being quite stressed about this. So, and then you use the word you're wondering. So I'm wondering, so it may be quite useful to set out here a little bit of what's going on for you internally.
Okay, so I mean that posture is a little bit extreme. It's more of a sort of amusing, I guess.
Okay.
And in a way, I sort of maybe it would be more useful for me to come out of this environment to muse.
Yeah. Okay.
So that's the situation. There's information. There's a client. and let's just turn this guy around. Oh, I'm on the wrong one, sorry. Okay, I just want to, okay, I'm walking backwards. So I'm going to come out of this environment because in reality, this is where I am now. I'm thinking about the dilemma, I guess, the dilemma.
Yeah.
I'm just trying to turn this guy around. Hang on.
So you can just use the keys in the bottom right hand corner, arrow around to the left or right.
Okay. So yeah, I need to think about this landscape. Is I need to go down this path. Okay. So I want to come outside of the castle. I want to come outside of the school and have a think about this. Have a think about the usefulness of additional information. So I need some air. I need to come away and come down and have some musings with my supervisor.
The musings about dilemma.
Yes. So so shall I create a avatar for my supervisor?
You can certainly put your supervisor in there, and it might be useful somehow or another so we can see the dilemma, the two.
Yeah, useful to bring the supervisor in, are you saying?
If you think so, yes, that's absolutely fine. Yeah, bring the supervisor in.
Okay, so here we go. So can I call this David?
Yeah.
David, okay. And you are, as my supervisor, I guess you're open and listening. Yeah. Yeah. So that's where I am. So that's my musing is in a. I've come out of the school and I'm by the water and I'm having a think about it.
Okay. So something you talked about in the school, Gemma, was a dilemma.
Yeah.
Tell me a little bit more about the dilemma. What's that about? What are the different components of that?
Okay. So I think that the information that I was given is fairly relative, I guess, to the way my client presents himself. So he was apparently, this is very recent news to me, was experienced abuse as a child, and he's living in an environment where his mother is apparently having many different lesbian relationships, but his father's still living in the house. And so a lot of the therapeutic work has been about anger with his mother. And so I've just had to draw on the information that he's given me, which is about, I hate my mom, she's really selfish, she goes out all the time, she's not a good mom, I don't feel supported by her. But actually what I now realise he's been saying is, my mum's got three or four lesbian lovers and I'm really struggling with that. And so it's about, no, I suppose whilst I appreciate as a therapist that having a blank canvas and having the client bring what they wish to bring, and that's fine in itself. But I wonder whether I might have understood him a little better if I had known, A, that he'd been abused as a child, and B, that his environment at home was about this constant toing and froing of his mother in different relationships. So that there's a lot of instability there. But I guess anger is anger, whether it's for whatever the reason is. Would that have been useful for me to have been, as the school knew, would that have been useful for me to know that? And I suppose it's, and they were asking me questions about it as well. And obviously, because it's confidential, I'm not discussing with them anything about my client or my client work. So it's more about now knowing the information. It's sort of, it means it's in my mind a lot of the time when he's talking, but
Yes.
we're not having the conversation. So I suppose that's what I mean by the elephant in the room.
Okay. So I'm wondering how we can represent that here, just briefly. We've got another couple of minutes, because you talked about here having his information, so the data you had from him. You then had separate piece of information from the school that sets the context as, or it's a different narrative to the one you originally understood.
Yeah.
And you then talked about being or adhering to a contract.
Yeah.
And it sounds like what you're saying is the struggle is around your relationship with that contract that you have around or being bound to confidentiality there.
Sure. Yeah.
So I wonder if we can just in the last couple of minutes, see if we can set this out, and then we'll have to stop, Gemma.
Okay. I'm just trying to think of something to represent the confidentiality. Because it's not really a block in itself.
No. Maybe a shield.
Yeah, maybe the shield. Maybe the shield. Yes, the shield for the client, certainly.
Yeah. So some degree of protection.
Yeah. Okay. Okay, so here's the shield. So yeah, so that's protection for the client. Okay. And then I guess there's, in terms of what am I thinking? I suppose the key is a bit like maybe what's the answer here?
Is that, and whereabouts is that answer?
Where is the answer? Yeah, where's the answer? I don't know if there is an answer. I'm just going to put it here in between you and me, because that's the question, and that's the key. I think my gut feeling is that I think I've changed my mind about this, actually, because I think what I was thinking was that the more information we have about a client, the more useful that can be, and the more we can understand our client better. But actually, what I'm now thinking is anger is anger. Anger with a mother is anger with a mother, whether it's to do with her sexual orientation or whether it's to do with whether she, didn't make a good dinner or not. It's still, and that's what I'm looking at with my client in the room. It's how he or she is feeling, and how that can be explored. So I've sort of I'm feeling now, I'm having just thought around this, that having thought I would like that, I'd like to have had that information. I'm now thinking it's okay not having it, and actually I can hold on to that, because that's my job. That's keeping confidentiality out of the school, out of the client. It's in a way the shield here is actually protecting all of us.
Yeah. Your contract.
The contract. So what I'm thinking now I need to do is just to hold additional information and know it, but not actually need it or feel that it's significant, because actually the relationship that I have with the client is in the here and now, in the room.
Yeah.
And actually I'm feeling now that actually the external information and the sources that it's come to me has actually it's sort of tainted my thinking a little bit, but it hasn't changed the way he thinks. And that's really what's important, isn't it? That
Yes.
he's able to convey what he thinks. It's not about me. So I need to just hold that and be able to receive information, but do nothing with it, but hold it. I think that's
and know where it's come from.
I know where it's come from. So actually, I've actually changed my thinking, interestingly, completely. I've done a 360, which is good.
And are you okay to hold it there?
Absolutely, yeah.
All right. And we can debrief a little later offline and sort of just finish that off together.
Sure.
Thank you. And so as we take a breath, I come out, and you can close that session, Gemma. And now we've got some Q&A. So we've had a lot of input from David, and then we've just done some supervision here with Gemma, and we've used ProReal. Please, now you can put your hand up and ask questions. I think Mikhail, you'll be handling the microphones to make sure everybody can get their questions heard, or indeed you can just send the questions on chat and we'll pick those up. So any comments, feedback, thoughts or questions you have, now it's the kind of participant engagement part. So what are the thoughts?
If you would like to ask the question live, please raise your hand.
Just whilst we're waiting for some questions, those who are interested in disinhibition in virtual worlds. So David talked about people being very open, and this is something we're finding time and time again. The disinhibition. Someone called John Suler, who happens to like ProReal. John Suler's written a lot of research on disinhibition and the balance or the use of power in virtual worlds. Really interesting stuff.
So Eileen asked, it's more the statement, so I feel a sense of relief that this really tricky situation has been worked through so quickly and visually.
Yeah, we're finding in ProReal, I'll just keep waffling on while we're waiting for other questions maybe to come through.
And we have the question here as well, okay, from Harald. Gemma, how helpful was it to you to choose avatars and work avatars in the session?
Can you hear me?
Yeah, we can hear.
Yeah, it was. It's about perspective. It's about enabling perspective. So in the castle, which is the school, representing the school with an avatar, the client obviously with an avatar, and myself it's just you by seeing, you're sort of disconnecting a little bit, but you're moving back from the scenario. As the avatar, I'm the avatar, I'm looking at the other avatars, and that was really useful to see the school as an avatar actually, and the things that they brought in, because actually having removed myself from the castle and from the avatar and going down to the water's edge, it no longer held any influence. So I think when I was in the castle next to the avatar, there was some power that was exerting, but actually having the freedom within this world to remove myself and leave the room, as it were, thinking back on it was about looking at the perspective, and actually no, I don't need I don't need information from the school, and I don't need to have a conversation with the school about my client. So that was really helpful.
Thanks, Gemma. Thanks, Harold. Great to see you there on the call. And tell us a little bit more, what was it like being the supervisee? Just give us a little bit more, sort of share with others what it was like. I know it's very exposing in a situation like this, but any other thoughts or observations from your part, Gemma?
It's just about clarifying. I think when you're talking in a supervisory relationship, and it's just in your head, the words, and that you're thinking, as I say, it's about, it gets quite jumbly, particularly when there's a lot of people involved in the scenario, which there are in this scenario. It's jumbly. And so being able to, certainly being able to sort of direct all that information, all those people into one avatar, symbolizing additional information from an external source, made that very clear, and it made it very detached, I guess, more detached. So it was about, yeah, it's like, I guess it's like the metaphor, isn't it? The avatar was a representation of a whole load of thinking and talking and information, but actually that's all it is. It's just that, and seeing it in that figure, and then removing myself from it physically on the screen, gave me perspective. And I haven't been able to have that. I have discussed this already with a supervisor, and in my head it was very jumbly and it was muddled, and it was lots of different stuff. So using, actually making it, simplifying it. It was simplifying it. That's what was happening. It was just making it easier to see what actually is important. So what's important is my relationship with the client. What I now realise is less important is the other information and the people that are involved in giving it or receiving it. Yeah.
Thank you. And David Clutterbuck, and its observations or thoughts?
I really liked I always like the use of colours and the way that they represent things. And for me, one of the things that I also liked was the way the avatars, when we were trying to think about, do we need a shield, do we need a key and so forth, the avatars are not still. This is the restlessness that's going on with the thinking. And I like that metaphor. But yes, I thought it was good that it was able, that you were able to externalize a lot of the thinking around this, and then and Gemma was able to allow herself to let go of the assumptions that she'd brought into the process to begin with.
Yes, I was, and I was trying to work through in my mind, and I hope my supervisor's not on the call, and just trying to remember how many eyes we used there. We certainly had ours, your client, the system, the environment, some of the environment. I love the mud going up into the school.
Yeah.
So we had quite a few eyes that became available there. Any more questions before we leave it there? Questions, thoughts? All right. We're just about coming to the end now, and special thank you to Professor. Thanks, David, for coming along, and thanks for being such a wonderful support for ProReal. I know that you talk about us all over the world, and we really appreciate that wonderful support we get from you. And Gemma, thank you for grasping the technology as well as the supervisory question today.
You're welcome.
All the problems. And Mikhail, thanks for doing all the technology and for the supporting cast. I know Klaus is working away in the background as well. Just as you know, we've got another couple of webinars look like they're going to come in one at the end of this year, one beginning of next year. Jeff Mead has agreed to do one on narrative leadership. and David Burke on narrative coaching, and narrative coaching will be at the beginning of next year. So we'll let you, for those of you who are regulars, we'll let you know more about those as the year goes on. The way we depart, and it seems like we did this last time, is any thoughts, impressions or comments about the webinar, just put them out on the chat as you depart. And thank you everybody for your participation. We hope to see you again on the next one.